Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Sharp Edge News TV. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and follow. Turn up your notifications so you're notified every time we drop videos and every time we go live. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. You're watching Sharp Edge News TV. Without any further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce the High Chief himself, legendary journalist out of Nigeria. He's doing a fantastic job bringing us this platform every week. So, without any further ado, please help me welcome High Chief Odokwetu of Ayede Ogbese Oladimeji Abitogun. Like I always say, he wears multiple hats, but today he's going to deliver the trendy news that we have tonight, of course, with that sharp edge to it. Welcome, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thanks so much. And I must thank you so profoundly for bringing me back. And to our audience around the globe, good to be back. And we thank you for deliberately making that choice to stick with us. Happy holidays. Thanks so much.
Awesome, great. Welcome back, welcome back. So, without any further ado, we're just going to dive right into the weekly Sharp Edge News Special Report. I'm sure you have some things for us today to bring us up to speed from the Sharp Edge News point of view.
Well, thank you very much. It's so needless to delay, and we jump right into it. The special report we have today is that, of course, you must have heard us expressing our frustration about the what at the time we profiled as the overrating of the Minister of Interior in Nigeria, Mr. Bumi Ojo, Olubumi Tunji Ojo. And now we have to really tone it down, because what we thought at that time was that it's been celebrated concerning the reforms that he brought to the immigration department, which is a parastatal under his ministry. But finally, he is doing what is expected of him by the generality of the Nigerians, which is a multi-dimensional solution to the problem of of the interior axis, that is the equivalent of a homeland security in Nigeria. And what has he done this time around? I think on his recommendation, the man who was sleeping on the watch as the Comptroller General of Nigerian Correctional Service, otherwise known as the Nigerian Prison Service, the man who had fought there, has been removed. And that was Mr. Aliru Nababa. Today, the new EMS man at the Nigerian Correctional Service is Mr. Sylvester Ndidi Nwakuche. Sylvester Ndidi Nwakuche appointment signals something that maybe President Bola Tinubu is already thinking of securing his own legacy, because this signals a fact that was in doubt. And that fact is that would he be denying access to people from southeastern Nigeria? But with the appointment of Mr. Sylvester Ndidi Nwakuche, now we know that Tinubu may have finally woken up to his past advocacies, one of which was true federalism in Nigeria. And in negation of the spirit of true federalism, you've heard of how much went wrong about the need to stop the marginalization of Southeasterners in Nigeria. And what we're focusing on here is the fact that some people, a cabal, a very, very serious deep state seizure happened with Nigeria Correctional Service. And certain people felt it was the exclusive that the Emsmanship there would be the exclusive preserve of northern Nigerians, with the coming on board of a tested hand, a thoroughbred professional like Mr. Sylvester Ndidi Nwakuche. You can be sure that a new sheriff is now in town. The reforms that we have always envisaged. He is somebody we know relatively well. Father hailed from Imo State. Mother came from Kwale in Delta State. And he is somebody that is well traveled, and he spent quite some time around Akure, particularly Ayede Ogbese, where we knew him around his late uncle, the late Odolofin of Ayede Ogbese, the late Chief Patrick Osanedi. So this is somebody that has always held it out in terms of the workability of the Nigerian Federation. All we can do at this time is to wish him well on the job, and for Nigerians who have been so impatient, particularly the well-known, renowned investigative journalist Fisayo Shoyombo. This is somebody that would need all the constructive suggestions, criticisms, recommendations, whatever will reposition the Nigerian prison's apparatus. Maybe with the coming on board of Olubumi Tujiojo and this new EMS-man at the Nigerian Correctional Service, issues of jailbreak, rescuing of prisoners by all kinds of renegade elements, including bandits and outright terrorists, would be a thing of the past. Whatever anybody has for an onward transformation of this jaded apparatus in Nigeria would be welcome. And all such inquiries, such outpourings should go directly to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Olubumi Tujiojo as the minister, and then Mr. Sylvester Ndidi Nwakuche. That is one leg on the internal security issues of Nigeria. Another thing that we want to touch on, and this is a brief correction. Some people wrongfully reported that the arrest of Mr. Farotimi, Dele Farotimi, lawyer, human rights advocate, who had been facing charges of libel, defamation, and possibly slander in the past few weeks. That it was probably instigated by the well-known Nigerian billionaire and businessman, progressively minded, Mr. Tony Elumelu. No, we too erroneously did an analysis on it, but we never hammered Mr. Elumelu because we said he would be somebody that would be in the marketplace concerning issues of free speech. And now our regrets that Mr. Elumelu was never in any way, whether immediately or remotely, connected with the arrest of Mr. Dele Farotimi, our bad. But that original report came from some Nigerian mainstream media elements who got the reports wrongly. It was not meant to slander Mr. Tony Elumelu. Of course, concerning Mr. Tony Elumelu, you saw what he has just done in the last 24 hours in Lagos State. Leading the charge at United Bank for Africa, UBA, he made a whopping donation of 500 million naira to Lagos State Security Fund. That in itself is among us. It speaks eloquently to the fact that Nigerian successful personalities do not want the worst for the country, and nobody, even outside Nigeria, who has the veins and the veins of Nigeria running through him or her, or blood and fluid that could be traced by DNA to Nigerian shores. Nobody wants Nigeria to fall. If anybody is offering criticisms, suggestions, recommendations, It's just because we all can act together in unison and make sure that we continue to serve that uh, assured hope that was signaled at independence by late Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first indigenous governor general and last governor general, and then first indigenous president, although in ceremonial capacity. The then president of Nigeria, he said the manifest destiny of Nigeria will be to lead the black race. And we are just paraphrasing, not exactly the way he said it, but then he said Nigeria will be the hope for the black race. And that is what everybody wants. Finally, people are beginning to make a mess of the genuine demands and struggle of heroes past and present. Nobody, nobody could play the uh, the card of being holy, being pious and holier than the other amongst all the tribes in Nigeria. When somebody came out to say, oh, there is no truth teller, there is no righteous person in Yoruba land, oh, the concentration of righteous people and honest speakers to truth or to power will be in the East. I want to tell you here, you find good elements in Southwest Nigeria among Yorubas. You find them in Eastern Nigeria among Igbos. You find them South-South, Efik, Ibibio, everywhere. Amongst Birom, Langtang, Hausa, Fulani, there is no monopoly of conscientious characters in Nigeria. So also is it that you cannot say that the what's it called, the concentration of evil people belongs to one ethnic group. That is not how to build a nation. And we'll talk more about this when we get to the issues of Mr. Dele Farotimi. That said, it's good to be back. Our report this week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You can hear me clearly, correct?
Definitely.
All
Most
right.
assuredly.
All right, awesome. Welcome back, everybody. So, do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and follow. We do have some other trendy stories around the world, and absolutely, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So, we're going to be talking about this story around the Supreme Court decides Tinubu's presidency survives CIA allegations. This is a breaking news, as a matter of fact. There's a news on Punch Nigeria. Yeah, I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it. It says the Supreme Court has dismissed the lawsuit seeking the removal of President Bola Tinubu from office. The suit filed by the presidential candidate of the Hope Democratic Party, HDP. I'm just saying that. I've never heard of it. But the Hope Democratic Party in the 2019 general election, Ambrose Aworu sought Tinubu's removal based on Central Intelligence Agency and drug allegations. The Apex Court, in an unanimous decision by a five-member panel of justices led by Justice Uwani Abba-Aji, on Monday held that the suit was frivolous and that Owuru be fined the sum of 5 million naira. If further warned the registry of the Supreme Court not to accept any it further warned the registry of the Supreme Court not to accept any frivolous originating summons from the plaintiff. Again, in the legal action he filed directly at the Apex Court, Owuru, among other claims, alleged that President Tinubu is an active agent of the CIA of the United States of America, a position he argued makes him unfit to occupy the presidential seat. The plaintiff equally urged the Apex Court to disqualify Tinubu on the account that He had earlier forfeited the sum of $460,000 to the government of the USA in a drug-related case. He specifically prayed the Supreme Court to invoke Section 157 of the 1999 Constitution as amended and oust Tinubu from office for being under the control of foreign authorities. Owuru, whose political party HDP had since been deregistered by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in a suit, joined ex-President Muhammad Buhari as a defendant in the matter. However, when the matter was called for hearing on Monday, the plaintiff, who wore his lawyer's wig and gown, rose to argue his case by himself. Nobody juju be there. So anyway, I think you should take it from here. What are your thoughts about this, sir?
Of course, number one, I beg to disagree with you that there must have been some enchanting or enchanting spectacle. Enchantment is juju, right? So, right?
Right. I forgot what I said.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You just made that interjection. Yeah, jokingly, but
Yeah.
this is serious matter, and nothing precludes, nothing says that somebody could not represent him or herself in the law court pro se, whether as a lawyer or as a citizen who feels he could do same. At least I know I have done that in the United States here, representing myself pro se, and I won the matter. Period. Yes, I won the matter. Period. Now, to the serious issue at hand, we were thinking that with the rulings before or after the swearing in of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu last year, that this dogging issues of him being seriously conflicted as to his past, who is he, or who he is, who he was, and who he is now, and the various issues of trying to know his pedigree, his address, and whether professional or educational attainments in life, all those were determined in the wake of the presidential election in 2023 in Nigeria. But moving fast to the issue of the moment, you will think that the law is what it is until you subject it to interpretation by learned men and women of the bench. And so, in this case, what was the prayer of the candidate of now defunct Hope Democratic Party of Nigeria? The issue is what CIA wrote when inquiries were made as to whether Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an agent or an asset. And CIA wrote in response that it is not their role, it's not part of their role to discuss anything relating to their asset. So probably that language, the coinage there, instead of saying whether Tinubu is in any way an agent of that Central Intelligence Agency or not, plainly, it became so ambiguous. The ambiguity was in the fact that, we do not discuss anything about our asset. So there, we were not given a clear picture of whether Tinubu is an asset or an active foot soldier, or in which case, it will be reduced to a spy, or maybe somebody who commits an act of espionage against the Federal Republic of Nigeria to serve the interests of Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America. Nothing about this has been closed. It remains open-ended. But the court now has said nothing about this will be entertained anymore. And you know the running battle between countries of Africa and specific secret service agencies, particularly the international ones in the West, and how much Africa has lost in terms of the protection of its assets, its persons, and its interests. So, you know, it becomes a very sensitive subject for anybody to want to handle, because you and I, we do not belong in that organization. We do not know, neither in the core or the fringe, we do not know the way it runs. We do not know its recruits. And honestly, we know that people have had to land themselves in trouble trying to ask too much questions about these people. But if it is true that Tinubu has been an asset, which we never can say, which we never can deny, all these things continue to hang in the balance, swinging neither here nor there. But one thing one could say is that the truth about this will be between Bola Tinubu himself and the CIA. And, you know, to discuss sensitive issues like this in the open remains something that would be so awkward. And we don't want to find ourselves in such a predicament. Whatever it is, we believe that now Tinubu will know better. Because, like the Yorubas say, the head does not know where it will lie ultimately or along the way. Otherwise, it would have neatly prepared the bed or properly prepared the bed. Oreo Mobusu, Toriba Mobusu ni Ibati Tubeshe, probably in his younger days. And other people have been mentioned concerning this. People like Mobutu Sese Seko, people like the late Chief Moshood Kashimawo, Olawale Abiola. We never would be able to know the truth about all these things until down the age, within within the ambit of time, somebody would declassify things, and then we would know the truth. But now, maybe while some of us are still alive, or maybe after, ultimately, like I said the other day, on the long run, everybody dies. But before we die, we deserve to know the truth about those who lead us and those who we follow. And Tinubu should not even take this personal. You see the questions we ask every day about Donald Trump. We want to know if he's an asset to Russia. That is, those of us who are Americans, we are interested in knowing. We want to know how Africa became what we see Africa as today. How did we get there?
Yeah.
Whether you are reading Walter Rodney or the very revered professor in Nigeria in those days that was kicked out of Nigeria by General Ibrahim Babangida, I'm talking of Patrick F. Wilmot. You know, Babangida famously said people described them as extremists who were teaching things that they were not paid to teach. Walter Rodney wrote How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And there are suspicions all the time as to the interest that is involved in the way African leaders, particularly Bola Tinubu, lately embracing those economic policies, political economic policies that are recommended by the Bretton Woods institutions of IMF, World Bank, and International Finance Corporation, IFC, in Washington, D.C. We never would be able to know all these things.
Right.
But of course, when they want to intimidate us in the media, when they want to intimidate the most important people who occupy the office of citizens, that is the average citizen, they tell you you know too much, then you pay.
Mm.
But why should anybody pay for this? I mean, wanting to know anything. All of us cannot suffer the fate of the late Mr. Delegiwa, Nigeria's celebrated journalist. So, question would also be asked as to the appropriateness of deregistering Hope Democratic Party. Is it because their presidential candidate decided to pursue his rights in the law court,
Mhm.
or what? What is behind that? I mean, that gets all of us involved in political affairs or journalism or law. That would, I mean, tickle some things within us. So that
Okay.
would get us so excited and curious. Should that be an appropriate response just because somebody is trying to pursue a cause, whether legitimately or otherwise, and then you deregister their political platform? I think
Mm.
that in itself is not democratic. If that is the reason for doing that, or maybe because they do not command enough followership, and so
Okay.
they cannot continue to waste ballot paper or space because of such a political party.
Okay.
Personally, I believe there are too many irrelevant political parties on the parade in Nigeria. The best that we have experimented with was what, yes, it came from the man who described himself as the evil genius,
Mhm.
General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. But when Nigeria operated the two-party model, we were better united. The Social Democratic Party and the National Republican Convention, that was achieved through military fiat.
Mm.
I don't know if we need any military fiat now, but honestly, if everybody, because America, people erroneously think that America is a two-party country or two-party system thing,
All right.
or maybe Europe as well. No, just that there are two prominent political parties in the United States. There are two prominent political parties also in Britain. And I think we are going to ultimately um, move towards that kind of trend as
Okay.
time goes on in Nigeria. Maybe it will be a battle ultimately, or there will be repeat battles ultimately between the ruling party now, which is uh, APC, All Progressives Congress, and People's Democratic Party, PDP. But you find that everybody just wants to be a lord of the manor. I mean, some big fish inside tiny pool. I think we can do better than that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Join the conversation. Join the conversation if you have an opinion about this. Um, you know, um, it's very hard to, if you're not a journalist like the High Chief himself, it's very hard not to see some of this rhetoric or all the stories coming out. It's very hard not to see them as a joke sometimes. But I appreciate your insight because it brings us back up to speed because every single one of these angles are all valid and must be assessed. So thank you for that. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications. We do have some other trendy stories around the world. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So let's talk about Trump. Of course, we have to talk about Trump. He's not even sworn in yet, so
That's right.
so we'll find out. Anyway, Trump immunity denied. This was a report from just a couple of hours ago, and we're going to talk about why this ruling can actually
Mm.
change everything. There's a report by CNN here. It says Donald Trump's felony conviction in the New York hush money case should not be tossed out because of the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity. Judge Juan Marchand ruled on Monday. Marchand's decision rejected one of several avenues that Trump's lawyers have taken to try to dismiss Trump's May guilty verdict on 34 counts of falsifying business records. The judge did not, however, rule on a motion from Trump's attorneys to dismiss the conviction because Trump has now been elected president. Instead, its 41-page decision focused on the question of presidential immunity. Marchand wrote the Supreme Court's ruling that Trump should receive broad immunity for official acts during his time in office did not mean the conviction should be dismissed, ruling that the evidence presented by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office was not related to Trump's official conduct as president. The evidence contested by Trump's lawyers, the judge wrote, related entirely to unofficial conduct and should receive no immunity protections. And I quote, this court concludes that if error occurred regarding the introduction of the challenged evidence, such error was harmless in light of the overwhelming evidence of guilt. Marchand wrote, and I quote, even if this court did find that the disputed evidence constitutes official acts under the auspices of the Trump decision, which it did not, defendant's motion is still denied as introduction of the disputed evidence constitutes harmless error and no mode of proceedings error has taken place. Trump transition spokesperson Stephen Chung said in a statement that Marchand's decision, and I quote, is a direct violation of Supreme Court decision on immunity and other long-standing jurisprudence. Trump's lawyers are likely to appeal Marchand's decisions. One, okay, let me ask you this question, okay? From a general knowledge, right?
Yes.
Is this even possible that um that they can appeal? Okay, well, the court where the convictions happened is not an appeal court. It's not a Supreme Court, right?
Uh,
This is possible, right? But what's your take on this right now? Is this
well, I think I want to agree with the ruling and the conclusions of the judge concerning this affair. Of course, you remember that America. We always talk of the work of nation building is always something in progress. It's a continuum, and where you think all the ends have been tightened and that there is no way anybody can break loose, you find out that there will be something because of the true nature of the federalism towards which we aspire in the United States of America, that something institutionally will crop up, will pop up to put whoever tries to want to force excesses, that is extreme agenda, something will put them in check. This is the exactly what you have seen in this case that is coming from this New York court, this ruling. Yes, the Supreme Court said whatever he must have done. I remember it was an academic thing. This idea of granting him broad immunity was first toyed with in an argumentative way. It was, until it took the coloration of fact, and then you find certain opinionated ideologues in the Supreme Court, people tilting towards, tilting away from center of the right. Republican opinionated justices saying, no, you could get away with anything. Now, the question to ask, and then, of course, it will be rhetorical because I will provide the answer, is that so when an individual gets so debased and reprobate as to launch after unsuspecting women, grope them, violate them, and then pay them hush money, could that have been done in the line of official duty as a president? Of course not. So if this goes on appeal, wherever, maybe to appeal court in the state of appellate court in the state of New York, or New York Supreme Court. I do not know if they have an arrangement like that, all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. These are the plain, the plain facts that will be at play, and I do not think anybody is going to find whatever that is different from what this judge has ruled. That is my take on this. Now, you see that certain things are already playing out the way we thought it would. For example, why would anybody want to bring a birthright matter under executive order in this unfolding transition period? Now, something that started like a rumor pulled out of a page of Project 2025 is beginning to wear the color. It's beginning to get mainstreamed that, when the new administration comes, whoever thinks of coming here or is born here by non-American parents will not automatically be conferred with American citizenship. Yet, there is a specific amendment that covers this. I don't know if it's 14th Amendment or something like that. I do not think any stroke of the presidential order or pen will be able to remove that unless it goes and has a tour of debate, which may be cumbersome to some extent, whether in the lower house, House of Representatives, upper chamber, the Senate, before anybody, and then there must be active participation of the different capitals and state lawmaking bodies in the United States before this could be acceptable to anybody. But what will be in this for the incoming administration anyway? That is the question to ask. That people come in, they give birth. If they come into American hospitals to give birth to children, maybe by way of medical tourism, whatever, under whatever guise, do they clear their hospital bills while here? So long nothing by way of constituting nuisance has been dumped on the American taxpayer, if these people clear their bills, why make them feel like they have done something heinous? This I do not get. But the debate continues. And there are other things, like several of the individuals being nominated for political offices. They are heavily conflicted. Somebody who has no clue about medicine will now be made to run the Department of Health and Human Services. Somebody who dropped out of a school and didn't do well in any academic capacity will now be made to run some specific aspects of the American public life. These are things that will come under scrutiny. And if American lawmakers, particularly the Senate, would want to avail itself of the opportunity of proving itself worthy to the people, honestly, there must be bipartisan scrutiny of whatever is being presented before them, and nothing is rammed down their throat, so that this country again can say that, we have built into us this self-cleansing institutional mechanisms, part of which is what will push against the ruling that broad presidential immunity exists, even on issues of pecuniary issues and issues of amoral escapades. That's my take.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much for that. Please join the conversation in the comment section. Do you think so be it? Do your works.
What did you just say?
I'm saying, I'm asking the people that will leave comment, like, do you think so be it, do your worst, he's gonna get away with it, and so be it, Or do you think
Well,
we need
I don't think that, like I said the other day, no perfect crime anywhere.
mm,
There's nothing that would be, it can't, it will not be like that.
right?
He will not be able to get away with, nobody will be able to get away with anything.
Nobody's gonna.
In fact, as a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
when history also records it, posterity would pronounce the ultimate judgment. So if anybody lives in the time in which we are now, and then
Mm,
you think that, oh, playing a smart Alec, and then you get away with brazen criminality, or you brazenly get away with outright criminality, and
mm-hmm.
you say that is the end of it. No, in nature, it's not the end of it, because some of these issues will be played back in the future.
Mm-hmm.
They would be examined by scholars and all kinds of people. And
Mm,
that is where you find historians giving their verdict. And they say nothing is perishable, and that this conduct is imperishable. That is
mm-hmm.
just it. Yeah, you think you can will it away, you can wish it away. No, it continues to hang on to you like the albatross
Right.
in the rhyme of the ancient mariner. You understand this? That's a poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
Mm. Okay. All right, great. Definitely do us a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. Also, yes, join that conversation in the comment section. We have some other trendy stories around the world. We'll be right back. It's time to talk about Oyinbo Kemi. All right, welcome back. So I don't know. This is report on the nations. Um, they literally titled their report Oyinbo Kemi.
Is
But
that in the Nation newspaper?
yes, the nation's newspaper. Yeah. So that's actually the title, that they titled it. But I'm actually going to look at a couple of other, a couple of things that I want us to look at when it comes to Kemi Badenoch. We're talking about Kemi Badenoch, the new.
Yeah, but don't you think for once that the way Nigerian compatriots are savaging Kemi Badnoch, they too are really playing to that script that they ought not, because what is in it? This is almost like pull her down syndrome already. Everybody gets so overzealous that she talks about what we already know. Just for example, when Donald Trump said at the time that, oh, have you seen anywhere where Africans are running their affairs that has not, handled, that does not look like an S hole. I don't want to use that word.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
SO
you
country.
said
Like an
yes.
Mhm.
Do you think he said something that just because he is white, he said it?
You
If
know
any
what?
of us
I agree with
had,
I agree with you, but before we get too much into it, for those who might not be familiar with who Kemi Badenoch is,
okay, me bad no case, let's take the story.
yeah, let's take the story. But not just to cut you off, I agree that every time you point a finger, there's a good chance that four fingers are pointing
Four
right back.
fingers. That's right.
Yeah, so and that's really my overall take when it comes to Kemi Badenoch. But I think we should do the story justice.
Yeah, it's all right. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
So Kemi Badenoch is the newly elected, I think, the leader of the.
Leader of opposition in the British
Mhm.
Parliament.
Yes, in leader of opposition in the British Parliament, as well as the leader of the
Uh,
Conservative Party,
yes.
as of November 2024. So
And
she,
British Parliament does not, we are just talking of House of Commons, in the House of Commons, not in the House of Lords. So go ahead.
right. So she's powerful now, especially with all this viral news over the past. In fact, recently, last Saturday, I think she was out here in DC, hanging out with the likes of the JD Vance and them. So So she's making moves, But anyway, she's of Nigerian descent. In fact, her full name is Olukemi Olufunto Adegoke Badenoch. So she's also married to a white man. Some people might find this offensive, but it is what it is. That would also explain a lot too, or could explain a lot, I should say. She's the first black person to hold those offices that were mentioned earlier on. She served previously in the cabinet of Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak from 2022 to 2024. So, by any stretch of our imagination, this is not a small person in the UK, you know. But there's a conversation here on I think the Punch News that I really want us to take on.
Yeah, you were talking of Onyibo Kemi as portrayed by the Nation newspaper.
Nation. So are you more interested in that? You want us to talk about that one?
I want us to deal with all the reports on her from the Nigerian local media.
I think I think the Nation one is. I think that's fair since I already mentioned it. Nation Online NJ.net, which is the Nation newspaper in Nigeria. They're reporting that Kemi Badenoch may need to beware of the pratfall ahead. It is what hubris breeds. Really, it's a woman accused of hubris. What is hubris? You want to enlighten us on that? What the hell is that?
Well, I can't readily place a handle on that. Probably a new word to me. What is the spelling?
Hubris. So they say, really is a woman accused of hubris, perhaps a few like Cleopatra. Hubris is often a male venom because women seldom rise to the sort of power that invokes celestial self confidence. So they're telling her to check herself essentially. Uh, in this regard, Badenoch is a class apart. Many don't want a rehash of Badenoch's rhetoric without restraint, her Nigerian put downs, her repudiation of the land of her birth. Yet, as the cleric Bishop Cooker has eloquently written in a recent essay, we must credit her ability to traverse a country of pedigree that enslaved blacks and built a civilization on the backs of the African race. She thinks she was plucked from the sky, a dizzy genius of self manufacture. She does not seem in her habits and attitude to know gratitude to history, to go down in genuflection to the monuments that made her possible. She is not the first to so rise. We have known blacks, especially in the United States, who either star as inspiration for others or, for most part, take a cue from the words of an unlikely hero of humility, Winston Churchill. He said, "It was the people who had the courage of a lion that simply had the luck to give it to roar." Obama acknowledged the exploits of centuries of blood and tears, of white butchery and black scorching through the mud, bowed by lashes. Serena nods to Arthur Ashe. Coco Gauff thanks Serena. In Britain, Formula One Lewis Hamilton thanks all of them before him, especially in the US, but not without knowing that you can't be a pioneer without the collective sacrifices of little people. I think we get the gist here, right? So,
That's
but
right.
have a take on Kemi Badenoch and all the
Yeah.
reports.
See, the gist of what you just read that piece from the Nation, right? The
Correct.
gist, yeah, is almost aptly captured by Hugh Langston, the poet laureate from Joplin, a neighboring state of Missouri here. And where he wrote, let me just paraphrase that: Mother, life for me has not been a stele of crystal.
Hmm.
Yeah, you see, the no matter how we look at it, the black person,
Mhm.
by way of identity and totality, has been through so much in the hands of all kinds of people, all kinds of races. You go and talk of Caucasian people, whites, of course, they have had their own moment of rebirth, rethink, or epiphany, and they are more refined to. But how about Arabs? You're going to take a panoramic survey of 10 countries that hate black people. Chief amongst them will be where many Africans love to go to. Mecca, that is Saudi Arabia, Japan, China. All kinds of people think the African is at the base of the pyramid when it comes to human civilization. Meanwhile, Africa is the cradle of everything. That is what the article by The Nation has succinctly proved. But let me also zero in on the ongoing debate.
Yes.
Number one, KEMI BADENOCH must have lived certain experiences that must be peculiar to her while in Nigeria. And nobody can take that from her. To want to take that from her is to make an attempt that would be horrible and outrightly evil by way of a fostering mental health hazard on her. That would be wrong. But I think the mistake she's making is to apply that as a broad stroke to wipe off everything that is Nigerian. For example, how many of us have not witnessed the wickedness of the police in Nigeria? But I also have police friends in Nigeria that I can vouch for.
Right.
Honestly. But again, are you going to say that there are no officers, not just in the Nigerian police force, the Nigerian army, that that conduct themselves in manners that will be considered as beneath our place as the foremost black nation in the world? Certainly there are. We cannot live in denial. Now, whatever BADENOCH said, BADENOCH is not the political equivalent of Nigeria's vice president. How did Shettima, the vice president of Nigeria, get himself in that debate? To the point that he was now advising that KEMI could drop the KEMI in her name. That is wrong. That is wrong. And it is so super sensitive to people like us who witnessed how a prominent Nigerian politician who was in the opposition to the ruling political party in Nigeria's Second Republic was rounded up and then thrown outside Nigeria and was labeled as a non-Nigerian. That is what Shettima has simply attempted repeating here. This debate does not concern him. It is not the political equal of KEMI BADENOCH in Nigeria. If Vice President Shettima is looking for his political equal, it will be the Prime Minister of that country. If not the Prime Minister, probably the Deputy Prime Minister. But certainly the equal of the head of state in England is Nigeria President. Forget the Commonwealth arrangement that makes Nigeria a subordinate of a United Kingdom. Now, BADENOCH also has made some mistakes in trying to play the divisive card, almost saying that Southern Nigerians or she, as somebody from Yoruba area, has nothing in common with the average Northerner, because according to her, Northerners are the ones who end up as Boko Haram and what have you. That is rhetoric taken too far. That is rhetoric taken too far. Absolutely. So in this case, you say what?
That's terrible that she was.
Yes, that is rhetoric taken too far. But you also find some people who are somewhat jaded within. In this encounter and exchanges, almost also saying that the Yoruba is the most dishonest in Nigeria. What is the essence of all that? It is needless. The point must be said, because if anybody is going to be in denial about what BADENOCH witnessed, I, as a young boy, of course, you were alive then, although you were still, you were much younger. As a 12-year-old boy approaching my 13th birthday, is it something that has not affected me psychologically that I witnessed the axing of my uncle to death and then his remains set alight? And then a prominent Nigerian newspaper reported this incident happened in Akure, August 16, 1983. But the following morning, a prominent Nigerian newspaper that is still in circulation today reported on August 17, 1983, that the person that was killed alongside my late uncle was his Babalawo. Outright lie. And then they want to take this. If BADENOCH had experienced that kind of thing, you want to take that away from from her? If anybody comes after me for revealing how people in my family were gruesomely assassinated, that person would have to take me out before succeeding at foisting on something untrue on my mind like that. So for different folks, there are different strokes. Your experience about Nigeria may be different from mine, but don't come around and say BADENOCH is a liar. I have seen a prominent Nigerian journalist always using such derogatory terms on her. In the final analysis, Ola, the same people who would want to go to any extreme to see if Bola Tinubu has a compromise on him, if he's an asset to CIA, are the same people that will now want to turn KEMI BADENOCH to Nigeria's assets within the British system, within the British establishment, for the sake of all that is good. Many of us hold dual citizenship. We know how to strike the balance without playing a spy against one system or in favor of one system. She is an adult. You see, there is these same people who want to see her as a turncoat, as what would you call her? The opposite word for uncle is aunt. Mm-hmm. As instead of Uncle Tom, they want to see her as Aunt Tom. Mm-hmm. The same people, they die every day to get visa to go to UK, to go everywhere, and when they get there, mm-hmm. even if they are right up within Nigeria, there are contributions on Nigeria media, within the Nigerian media. What do they say about Nigeria? The fact that you come out saying the truth does not make you an enemy. It only means that we all are involved in the project of evolving a better, stronger, and saner society. Mm. This is the way I look at the KEMI BADENOCH issue. Mm. I don't know if we still have any time or this is the last segment.
This is the last segment.
Now, let me smuggle in the issue of ECOWAS, which will turn 50 years in 2025. It was established in 1975. Yes, the center is not holding like it used to, because countries like Burkina Faso, I think, what's it called, Niger, and one other, they have pulled themselves out and kissing up to a country like Russia that means nothing well for Africa other than just plundering and stealing and then using it as what's it called, a proxy or satellite that could be remotely controlled for the selfish interests of Russia. Mm. For you to lift your eyes up onto the mountains, onto the hills, asking for help from God, then you would have been able to describe, or you must have seen what God has done, his might in the past. Whether Kremlin, you're talking of Kremlin Russia, whether you're talking of it as a communist enclave, as the disintegrated Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, or Russia of today, Russia does not even successfully feed its citizens. It doesn't, it spends outlandishly to project this strength of being a superpower. But It's a country with its internal struggles and economic failures. So
Mm-hmm.
when African countries shoot themselves um, in the foot and look up to Russia for salvation and destroy something so good, something so important like ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, and then they call themselves the New Sahel Group, just group of three.
All right. So
But
I don't think that's brief enough so that we don't confuse people. I thought it
yes,
was brief small goal. It's not brief enough.
yes, but please just let me make this point that
Yeah, make the point. Yeah.
yeah, whatever is good about ECOWAS should
Mm-hmm.
be kept. This window of 6 months through which the Niger Republic is exiting, and whoever wants to go, they can also still have a rethink, because once that door is shut,
Mm-hmm.
they don't come back and they make it to look like Nigeria is the architect of their misfortune. And because of the issues of Niger, you saw the way some people outrightly, the same people that are knocking on KEMI BADENOCH now, outrightly they were really snitching against Nigeria and were rooting for Niger, all kinds of people, their elements. I don't want to use words that are, that shows that I'm being disrespectful. But you saw all this, and these are the things that really show that Nigeria is just still a project at work. It's not yet perfect. And every day, all of us, we are struggling to attain that perfection. That said, see you next week.
All right. So now, before we go, we are about 2 minutes over, 3 minutes over. But I want to know your thoughts on this. So Reno Omokri made a statement that I found interesting. I wanted to read it to you, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. Right?
Right.
He made this statement on Twitter on December 12th. So this would be about 4 days ago. So when this whole thing was very fresh. So, and I quote, I am proud that the Nigerian, Kemi Badenoch, a member of the parliament and leader of His Majesty opposition, is the highest ranking black person in the United Kingdom. But Kemi still has a lot to learn in life. Mrs. Badenoch should recall that when Anthony Joshua was arrested in 2011 on drug charges, the headline in all British papers was something like this: Nigerian boxer arrested with drugs. I heard her.
Not Nigerian British.
Nigerian boxer
Yeah, I understand what you say.
with drugs, yes. So I urge her office to please fact check me. But when the very same Anthony Joshua was a gold medal in men's super heavyweight boxing at the 2012 London Olympics, the headline in the British papers read, British boxer wins boxing gold. Within a year, Mr. Joshua transformed from a Nigerian to a Briton. What a miracle. The British media are celebrating Kemi because it is currently chic to do so. There is, after all, some novelty in the fact that she is the first black person to hold such an exalted position. But she would do well to remember that she is only British and not English. And when she makes a mistake, as we all do, the British media will remember that she is Nigerian in their head.
Yeah, I agree with this op-ed from Reno Omokri.
Okay.
But let me also tell you that before, usually it's the choice you make. For example, when in 2016 or 2017, I was taken to the Candy facility here, and on a spurious and what's it called? Wrong accusation of domestic violence or what have you. Now, they asked me, while being processed, the police asked me, do we contact Nigerian embassy? I got there. I caught them in their antic, in their game. I said, so why Nigerian embassy? The guy kept quiet. I said, of course, that is offensive because I am an American. I am an American citizen. Now, if I had failed that test, they will throw it at you. If you take the bait, then they begin to characterize you as a Nigerian, and then they will frame the story that, this is the way of Nigerians. But here, I'm a Nigerian American. If I'm arrested in Nigeria, yes, within that principality, or that jurisdiction, I will be a Nigerian in the United States or global, whatever. As a
Platform.
Nigerian, my American citizenship is what I will cling to. And if you dare try to want to deny me that, I can also take certain action that will make me a couple of dollars richer. So, yeah,
Yeah.
understand the name of the game when they throw it at you.
Right. So he continues, right? He said, I urge Mrs. Badenoch to learn from Barack Obama. Kenya has the same teething challenges as Nigeria, and in many areas, Nigeria is far ahead of that East African country. Yet, Mr. Obama never demarketed or disassociated himself from Kenya. He visited Kenya, promoted her, and proudly spoke about his Kenya heritage.
Please take a pause there.
Yes.
People talk about things they do not know. They should go on YouTube. When Barack Obama was introduced as an African and Kenya at a given Nelson Mandela Memorial in South Africa, he too quickly pushed back on that. He said, I am an American. He said it. Yes, but we do not deny the fact that we have roots. We can always trace our addresses in Africa. So when people push all these things, they should be very careful. Because if Obama gets on the world stage, a former American president, and then begins to embrace Kenya nationality like that, of course, we know that all else will break loose in America here. People should not paint. Yes, out of excitement, they should not say things. I mean, they should say things exactly the way they are. Obama, everywhere, wherever he goes, yes, his father was from Kenya, but he is an American. People should understand this.
So he continues, says, to paraphrase a popular proverb, success has many fathers, but failure has only one mother.
Sure.
Mrs. Badenoch may want to acquaint herself with the case of former British star footballer John Fashanu. When he was the darling of the football-loving Brits, he was called British, and he did not associate with Nigeria. Then scandal came, and the headlines changed from British footballer to Nigerian player. Today, Mr. Fashanu lives in Abuja. I hope and pray that the same fate will not happen to KEMI. Mockery. Anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, very, very instructive. Yes, nice conclusion. But let me also say this.
Yeah.
Because I also see the way Nigerian journalists and all kinds of people, the way they lie that all of us overseas, we do menial things. And if I even do menial job and it pays my bills, how is that? I mean, where there is dignity of labor, how is that supposed to be something that should lead to my denigration? Yes. Why would the dignity of my human person not be respected? Now, this is more on the side of Nigerians than Britain trying to embrace KEMI Badenoch as one of them. If KEMI Badenoch had been doing stuff today, if she's not enjoying this prominent, this public profile, because success has many families. If our story had been otherwise, would everybody be trying to identify as a Nigerian?
Be gone by now. I think it would have been. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I returned to my birthplace in Nigeria, that's when people say, "Oh, it's Biafra today, it's Oduduwa, tomorrow is Arewa," I laugh, because even when you have those, people will tell you, "Go back to Usho, go back to Ayede Ogbese, go back to Akure, go back." And that is what we are saying about people who would say, "Oh, in America, send away the undocumented what's it called, immigrants." And after that, what will come next? It will be like, "Oh, he's from Nigeria. Oh, that one is African American," and all that. You never would have that thing you aspire to. So everybody should shoot the sword and just let us celebrate our humanity. It does not matter whether she came from Nigeria or wherever she came from. The fact that she talks about her experiences does not make her a bad person. And the fact that Nigerians also love to own her does not make us bad either. All I'm just saying is that we should temper everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we should take it easy. Cool it down.
I think our story is a story with lots of lessons on both sides. But let me ask you this one last question, and then we'll round it up right now.
Right.
Is BADENOCH using Nigeria inside her British power strategy?
Possibly so. I'm not inside her head. I won't be able to say.
Okay.
Possibly so. Yeah, but people kiss up to all kinds of stuff in order to consolidate and get to the ultimate place. But what I see to say that the British society is not yet familiar with. If you read, if you read a book like Lonely Londoners, authored in the 50s, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, by Samuel somebody from West Indies,
Mm-hmm.
you find the characters like Moses Galahad and what have you, Nigerians, you would laugh, even beyond that laughter, you understand that, as Yoruba say,
Mm-hmm.
ogun ọdún tí rélùwé ti ń rìn, ẹkú wájú ló máa kílẹ̀. So, Badnoch is not the first guy, is not the first lady or
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian to be successful in England. Nigerians have been rolling the that climb for
Mm-hmm.
ages.
Okay.
Ambrose Campbell,
You don't know.
Kesley Efford
Mm-hmm.
from Ghana, everywhere. The Adeyemo Alakija family from Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, I mean, look at somebody like Olado Ekwano, former slave, captured from Etsako, because people wrongfully think Olado Ekwano is Igbo. I don't know where they got that wrong impression. He was captured as the son of a high chief of Etsako, the present Isha land in Edo State. That's where Orlando Equino came from. And you're talking of 17 something Britain. So Badnoch is just
You
a lady of the moment. And
so
we
sorry.
always have, yeah.
So sorry. Your answer to the last question is that you don't know, you're not really in ahead. I take it in. But I want to ask you a more mathematical question so we can round
That's
up.
it. But understand I'm not as good in mathematics like you all are, but go
So it's
ahead.
just simple scaling. It's just a simple
Yeah,
scaling.
yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances that Kemi Badnoch is an Alanti Tommy, the equivalent of an Uncle Tom?
Possibly so. If
What
she's that,
on a
see,
scale
if she,
1 to 10 chances?
maybe on the scale of 7 or 10, but then if that is the character she's wearing now,
Uh-huh.
thinking that she would climb to the what's it called, to the pinnacle of the politics of the conservative in Britain or United Kingdom. Honestly, the moral of it is that she will be used and dumped. That's all.
All right, that's it.
That is always the way it ends for every Uncle Tom.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
it only means that the slave inside the chamber inside the house thinks that he is better than the one that lives in the cabin.
The house nigga, huh?
You got it. You got it.
All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you for being here today. Do us a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified whenever we go live. Hopefully, you've been enlightened, educated. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. God bless.